So I was in the Army Reserves. I joined the Army Reserves so they pay my way through medical school. That was in 1995. And then I went to college for 1 year, and then after that I went to boot camp Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And then I did my medical training. I was a combat medic and an OR scrub tech in the Army, and so I did that training down in San Antonio, Texas. And after I did that, then I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, which is in Columbus, and I did my intern or whatever in the hospital over there. And so after that, I went back to Georgia Southern. I was a victim of a very violent crime in Columbus, Georgia that's left me almost completely paralyzed in my right arm from an ex-boyfriend who's now serving life in prison. And because of that, I actually am a volunteer for Georgia Office of Victim Services as a victim support partner. I'm actually going to Pine Mountain, Georgia tomorrow to speak for, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so I'm actually going there to do that, and then coming back tomorrow for an event that I have here tomorrow night. So. But yeah, I'm a mother. I have 4 children. I sit on a lot of different boards and committees here in the state of Georgia. I was a state delegate for the 10th Congressional District when I lived up in the Atlanta area. I'm a delegate for the 1st District here. I'm also was a third, until I decided to run for this office, I was a 3rd vice chair for the whole 1st District. And so that put me over 15 different counties. I sit on the school council. I've sat on the school council for every school that my children have attended. Veteran nonprofits, just, I try to stay involved in my community as much as I can. So, but I have 4 kids. My husband is your local pharmacist over here at CVS. My oldest son is a Marine. He got out. He's now working at Gulfstream. I have another son that works at Publix while he's waiting for his date to go to boot camp for the Air National Guard. A daughter that's 12. Goes to Richmond Hill Middle School, and a son, Magnus, that is 8, and he is in Richmond Hill Elementary. So a lot of people would say, oh, you're not from here, but I actually grew up around here. I graduated high school in Hinesville. My dad was military, and that's where he retired from. And then I went to college at Georgia Southern. My husband went to pharmacy school in Pooler. His parents are in Statesboro, mine are in Guyton, so we are from this area, but I guess, I'm an outsider if you're talking about Richmond Hill. Even though I used to come here and eat every week, 2 or 3 times a week when I was in high school. We went to, it's Bill Hilliard's, which is not here anymore. We wish it was, but it's gone now. So yeah, I'm an outsider, but sometimes that can be a good thing when you're talking politics. So when we moved here over 4 years ago, immediately I started seeing that this town is growing. Like, it has grown so much from when I was in high school in the 90s. I just told on myself. So when I used to live in Pooler 20 years ago, when Pooler was nothing but a Walmart and a Home Depot. You're way too young to know when that was, but that was all there was, and look at it now. It grew, and you couldn't pay me to live there right now, right? And then we moved to the McDonough area, or to the Atlanta area, and we were in McDonough, which is Henry County. And when we moved there, the population was 22,000, and in 10 years it grew 12,000. That is astronomical in 10 years to grow that much, right? So I knew when we moved here, and the roads, that's the worst traffic in all of Metro Atlanta. It's like when you're going up 75 and the traffic literally stops, that's where we lived. I mean, it can be a Sunday afternoon and you're on the interstate and the traffic stops, and everybody's like, what in the world? It's because all the warehouses are there. So when I moved here, I said, I'm going to get involved one way or another. I didn't plan on running for any kind of office, but I knew I wanted to get involved and have a voice. And so after the flooding last year, I said, yeah, I've got to do something. Like, I can't just be volunteering. I've got to get in there and make some things happen. And so that's when I decided, because leadership failed at that time. And I hate to say it, NAR police and fire, they were amazing, but the leadership presence just wasn't there, and it needed to be. Well, I mean, it's coming. The growth is coming. We can't stop it, especially since the Hyundai plant is here. But we can plan it properly, and we can put strict guidelines and rules that people have to follow, things that developers, the developers are going to have to put back into it. We can keep it from steamrolling us. And growth doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be good for Richmond Hill if it's done the right way, right? So I think, there's, no matter what anybody says, if somebody says they're going to stop the growth, if that happens, the town will go, it'll fall apart. So that you can't stop it, but you can definitely strategically plan, reevaluate certain things. And I think one of the keys to that is to go and humble yourself and go across the state or the country and look at towns that grew very fast and say, what did you do that you could have done better, or what did you do that was so great, right? And learn from other communities. And that's, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Well, I mean, I know when you're in office, you're gonna have to be behind closed doors making some things happen. But at that point, when we were in the nitty gritty, there's a time that I was out there and people were coming up to me asking me what I was like, I'm not in charge, literally. And I wasn't. Like, there were some other people that were taking charge, but I'm a take charge, get in there and do things kind of person. And so I got out. I was in there. I was in water waist high till like 4 o'clock in the morning, working, evacuating people, taking water. And I was with so many different people that I couldn't even tell you their names now. Like, I have a video of me like with these different people, like, what's your name? What's your name? And one of the things that happened, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but a certain county official actually called me up and said, Belgicia, look, I know you can rally people together. I can't put this out on social media, but I really need to get this nursing home evacuated. And so I called up 2 of my friends and took my 18-year-old son at the time, and we went up to the nursing home over there, and we helped the fire department evacuate that entire nursing home. Right after that, I was there until about 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I had to come home, take a shower. I had surgery that very same morning for inguinal hernias, but there should have been a plan in place. You shouldn't have to call on your, leaders in the community. I mean, which is great, if they're prepared for that, which, where I'm going with it. Like, I think the city did. It wasn't great to see certain people come out just to take a picture, and I'm not talking about my opponent or anything like. I'm just saying in general. Like, Van Hunter was one of the city, and I'll call it because there's pictures. He was out there. I didn't even know he was a city councilman at the time. Honestly, he was out there. Ryan Purvis, Patrick Kiskin, like, they were out there. You wouldn't know them from Adam because they were doing the sandbags, doing all this nasty, sweaty, just like the rest of us, I mean, I was out there with my kids, and it was an amazing experience for us as a community. I just think that the leadership, and there were, you could see at times they were trying to come in and bring in the reins, but it should have been strategically planned. There should have been an emergency plan. In my church, we're very big on volunteering and doing things like that. I'm with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and like, if there's a hurricane or something anywhere in the world, our church is there before the Red Cross gets there, just because we have members all over the world. So I'm versed in that kind of area. The problem is too many residents, they say stuff online, but they don't show up to the meetings. So if you want your voice to be heard, you have got to come to those meetings. Now, we hear, which we saw this with the last school, the SPLOS that happened, they heard the residents, and the residents made their voices heard with that and voted against that. And I think everybody's kind of wishing, knowing that the SPLOS are important for the schools, but when you rally together as a community, you can make your voice heard. But I think it's more important to show up at those meetings and let people know, like, hey, I am very much against this. You can't just do it online. That never even crossed my mind. I wasn't even thinking I'm a woman about to be the first woman mayor, right? I never even, wasn't even a thought. But when I think about it, I mean, it is it's monumental, especially in a town like this, where it's, the good old boys, and they've always done everything and run everything, but I think, and for our girls, and girls across everywhere, Now in North Bryan, which I didn't know this until I met with Mayor Ziegler the other day, there have been several women mayors there, and I think, wow, that's amazing, because they're even smaller than us over there, right? So that was very impressive, and most of the women in leadership, or most of the people in leadership over there, are women. But I think it's very, it's important, but it should also be a little bit of a wake-up call for our boys, which I've told my boys this, like, women are gonna rule this world. You better step up, bud. It's letting our daughters and the girls everywhere have role models like, hey, we can do this, because it wasn't that long ago we weren't even allowed to vote, right? So it's pretty awesome. Yes, I'm not from here, but I chose Richmond Hill. I'm a veteran, and a huge portion of this population are veterans. And not only am I, even if I wasn't a veteran, I grew up as an Army brat, so I'm able to move, adapt, change, and get through things where, and the greatest thing about that is I've lived all over the world, right? And I've lived in big cities. So I haven't been stuck in this little town with no vision of what else is out there. And so when things are changing, as we are growing, I have a vision of where those things can go without losing this town and the feeling that we want to keep it to have, right? The other advantage with me is that I'm going to make the best decisions for Richmond Hill, and I'm not going to have to worry about if I hurt my Aunt Sue's best friend's feelings, or if my cousin down the street is going to be mad at me and we're never going to have Thanksgiving dinner together, because I had to make a decision based on all of the community, not just my people, right? And so that is where I, coming in, someone from the outside, can benefit this community, because we are growing. And if you look, Richmond Hill is not the same. We're growing in demographics, in age, like you know, we're not a bunch of old people anymore. Like, I mean, the median age is like 30 or 31 or something. It's right there in their 30s, right? And that's not what Richmond Hill was 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. So it's grown a lot, right? So I think that's what I can bring to the table, and it's really time for a change. I mean, I don't agree with career politicians, and if you've been in for 6, 7, 8, 10 years, it's time for a change, right? So you had time to get things done. Let somebody else take over and do it.